faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hi, this is Sally talking books. Today we're interpreting a book called The Origin of Hubei Place Names. Hubei province is in central China, named Hubei because it's north of Danting Lake. Hubei has always been a land of talent and beauty since ancient times. Places like the Three Gorges, Wudang Mountain, Shennanjia, and the Yellow Crane Tower are world-famous tourist spots. And there are countless famous figures from Hubei, from historical figures like Hua Yuan, Li Shizhen, Bi Sheng, Men Haoran, to modern heroes like astronaut Mi Haisheng, Xiaomi founder Lei Jun, and 360 CEO Zhou Hongyi all hail from Hubei. On the map, Hubei has 13 prefecture-level divisions, 12 cities, and one autonomous prefecture, with over 100 county-level units. When you stare at these place names, do you ever ask yourself, how did they get their names? Actually, place names come from real history, folk tales, and descriptions of natural scenery. This book, The Origin of Hubei Place Names, shifts your perspective to uncover the stories behind the names, helping you deeply understand Hubei's history and culture. The editor-in-chief is Ren Yongshin, party secretary and GM of China Post Group's Hubei branch. To spread Hubei culture and standardize place names, he spearheaded the creation of this book. All right, now I'll cover the origins of Hubei place names from history, culture, and natural landscapes. First up, let's discuss Hubei place names tied to history. When talking about Hubei's history, we have to bring up the Chu Kingdom, which thrived over 2 millennia ago as a dominant, power in the Spring and Autumn and Warring States eras. Chu ruled over several provinces along the Yangtze River and had the largest territory of any state. Back then, Chu's heartland was today's Hubei. Across Hubei, you can sense the deep-rooted Chu culture that's endured for millennia. Oddly enough, none of Hubei's city names include the word Chu. Don't fret, you won't find any Chu names. Just look for another character, Jing, like in Bearing Thorns to Apologize. Jing is a plant. In the commentary of Zuo on the Spring and Autumn Annals, it says that Jing and Chu are just different names for the same plant. So the Chu Kingdom was also called the Jing Kingdom, and thus Chu culture is known as Jing Chu culture. Now, when it comes to names with Jing, we have to talk about Jingzhou. That name has been around for ages. In the Confucian classic Shangshu, it outlines the division of ancient China into 9 regions, and Jinzhou is one of them. That means during the time of Yu the Great, controlling floods, the name Jingzhou already existed. But back then, Jinzhou wasn't a city name like today. It referred to a whole region, roughly covering what are now Hubei and Hunan provinces. Most of southern China was undeveloped wilderness back then, full of thorny bushes. That's why people used Jing to refer to this area. The Jingzhou we know today is a prefecture-level city in southern Hubei province, a renowned historical and cultural city, and it was the capital of the Chu Kingdom during the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. It was called Yingdu back then. The character Ying has Chang, meaning city on the left, and a knife radical on the right. From the Han Dynasty onward, Yingdu was renamed Zhangling. You see, in Li Bai's poem, Departing from Beatty in the Rosy Clouds, returning to Jiangling in a day from 1,000 miles away, Jiangling refers to present-day Jingzhou. Nowadays, there's a county in Jingzhou called Jingling County. Hey, north of Jingzhou in Hubei, there's another city named Jingmen. Jingmen means the gateway to Jingzhou. To reach Jingzhou from the Central Plains, you had to pass through this gate. But actually, it's not a real gate. It's 2 mountains facing each other. Jingmen Mountain is in the east, Huia Mountain in the west. Their peaks stand opposite, like a natural gate. The ancient Jinmen city, not far north of these mountains, got its name from this. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. The rise of the Chu kingdom didn't happen overnight either. Chu's earliest territory was only around Jingzhou. Later, it annexed over 40 small states to gain vast lands. So the small states annexed by Chu have vanished. Many place names in modern Hubei still preserve their traces. Um, for example, traces of those states. North of Jingmen is Suizhou. The Sui character comes from the ancient Sui clan. Suizhou is the birthplace of Yan Emperor Shennan, the ancestor of the Chinese nation. Suizhou borders Henan and was the location of the Sui state during the Warring States period. The state had a ruler named Marquis Yi of Zhang. He's most famous for the set of bronze bells unearthed from his tomb, the largest, heaviest, and best preserved musical bells in the world, known as the Zhang Hui bells. Since the Sui state was on Chu's critical northward route to the Central Plains, it couldn't escape conquest in the survival of the fittest era of the spring and autumn and warring states periods. However, place names like Suishu, Zhengdu, and Suxian were preserved, constantly reminding people of this history. Additionally, Suishou was the fief of Emperor Wen of Sui, Yangjian, who founded the Sui dynasty, named after Suishou, though the characters differ. Well, legend says Emperor Wen disliked the wok radical in Sing, so he created the new character Sing for his dynasty. But no matter how exquisite Suizhou's bells were, its status still couldn't match Jingzhou at the time. This lasted from the spring and autumn period through the Three Kingdoms era, during which Jingzhou was undoubtedly Hubei's most prosperous area. You've probably heard Jingzhou mentioned repeatedly in Romance of the Three Kingdoms, right? The Jingzhou appears in 72 of the novel's 120 chapters, more than any other city. The second most mentioned city in the novel is also in Hubei, Shenyang. Shenyang is in northern Hubei, close to Wei's then capital Sucheng, today's Shucheng city in Henan. Thus, it was mostly under Cao Cao's control. Yet, it was precisely here in Shenyang that Cao Cao suffered a crushing defeat. In 2019 CE, the famous Battle of Shanfan occurred here, where Guan Yu flooded 7 armies and routed Cao Cao. But Shenyang had already existed for over a millennium before the Three Kingdoms period. And ancient Chinese named places Yang, meaning south of mountains and north of rivers. The Book of Han's geography treatise records Xianyang got its name from being south of the Xiang River. The visitors to Xianyang notice the Han River flowing through the city. Many assume the Xing River is the Han River, but that's incorrect. The Xiang River is actually a small tributary flowing into the Han River. With modern city development, this small river has been submerged among skyscrapers, and people can hardly find its traces anymore. Cao Cao might have clashed with Hubei, but his arch-rival Liu Bei had a great connection with it, and he even left place names here. For example, today's Gong'an County, under Jingzhou City, got its name from Liu Bei's Gong'an, which literally means public security. But Gong'an actually has nothing to do with public security. In the Han Dynasty, it was called Chanling, Chan as in weak, with the corpse radical and 3 children stacked, which sounds unimpressive, right? However, after Liu Bei stationed his troops here, it changed, because Liu Bei was the left general and was respectfully called Lord Zero. This was where he set up camp, hence the name Gong'an. Nowadays, what foodies know best is Gong'an beef. It's delicious and loved by everyone. It has the beautiful nickname, the Pride of Meats. All right, we've covered Cao Cao and Liu Bei. Now let's talk about Sun Quan and his Eastern Wu. The famous Battle of Red Cliffs saw the Sun Liu alliance crush Cao Cao's forces, establishing the tripartite division of the Three Kingdoms. Regarding the exact location of the Battle of Red Cliffs, historians have proposed at least 7 places. However, recent archaeological findings have largely confirmed it happened in Puchi, Hubei, Pu as in cattle grass, Chi with the earth radical, and the weight character, meaning riverbank. The name Puchi was used for 1800 years. It's said that after his great victory at Red Cliffs, King Sun Quan of Wool established Puchi County here because the county seat was set on a bank full of cattail grass. That's how it got this name. But Puchi isn't easy to pronounce or catchy, so it wasn't famous. In 1998, Puchi City was officially renamed Chibi City. Uh, After the name change to Chibi City, its fame skyrocketed. Actually, Sun Quan named many place names in Hubei, not just Puchi. There are others you're very familiar with, like Wuchang. But uh, the Wuchang of the Three Kingdoms period wasn't part of Wuhan. It was in Ezhou. From the map, Ezhou is located in eastern Hubei with Wuhan to its west. Like Suizhou mentioned earlier, Ezhou's history dates back to the spring and autumn period. Originally, it was the territory of the Yi Kingdom, which was in Shanxi and named after the Yi surname. But later, it was destroyed by the powerful Jin Kingdom and migrated to today's Ezhou, still called the Yi Kingdom. After the Chu king conquered the Yi Kingdom, he made his son a king and built the Yiwan city. By the Three Kingdoms period, the Wu state built the Wuwang city on the site of Yiwan city, making it Eastern Wu's first capital. Wuwang city was also called Wuchang city. It meant prospering through military power, because at that time, Wu particularly valued military strength. Later, when Wu moved its capital to Jianye, today's Nanjing, Wuchang became its secondary capital. So, ancient Wuchang and today's Wuchang in Wuhan are not the same place. And the Wuchang fish, beloved by foodies, actually originates not from Wuhan, but from Izhou. So someone might ask, what exactly is today's Wuchang? Today's Wuchang was called Jiangsha County in ancient times. Jiang as in Yangtze River, Sha as in summer. After the Jin and southern northern dynasties, Jiangsha gradually developed with its convenient transportation. On the map, you can see ancient Jiangsha County, today's Wuchang, located south of where the Han River meets the Yangtze, a crucial water transport hub. Across the river are Hankou and Hanyang. Water transport was vital in ancient times, like today's rail or air hubs. In the Tang Dynasty, they stationed heavy troops from ancient Wuchang in the more strategic Jiangxia. Thus, Jiangsha City gradually became known as Wuchan II, creating two Wuchans, called Upper and Lower Wuchan, along the Yangtze's upper and lower reaches. If Jingzhou was Hubei's busiest city from spring-autumn to Three Kingdoms, then afterwards its status was gradually replaced by Upper and Lower Wuchan. And the Upper-Lower Wuchang area was under Ezhou's jurisdiction, which is why Hubei province is abbreviated as Yi today. Among these, today's Wuhan city gradually developed from Upper Wuchang. During Ming Queen, Wuhan was called Central Chu's most prosperous place and hailed as the Chicago of the East. The Wuchang Uprising ended China's feudal rule, gaining worldwide fame. Therefore, when people mention Wuchan today, they naturally think of Wuhan's Wuchan. Few recall the one in Ezhou anymore. All right, earlier we discussed how Hubei has always been a strategic battleground since ancient times. People scarred by war also longed for peaceful lives. Therefore, many ancient place names in Hubei embody people's hopes for peace. For example, Xianing. Xianing's south connects to Hunan and Jiangxi, and it's known as the southern gateway of Hubei. Xianing was called Yang'an in the Tang Dynasty, and in the Song Dynasty, it was renamed Xianing based on the allusion in the Book of Changes, where all nations enjoy peace. Shan here means all or universal. Whether it was Young An before the name change or Xianing after, both express people's yearning for a peaceful and prosperous era, similarly carrying wishes for such times. Then there's Yuchang in Hubei. Uh, when people hear Yuchang, many probably first think of the modern Three Gorges Dam, right? Actually, Yuchang has a very, very long history. It's the hometown of Kwa Yuan from the Warring States period. In ancient times, Yichang was called Yuling. Uh, Yi, as in turning danger into safety, Ling as in hills. It's said the name Yiling comes from an old phrase, where the water calms down and the mountains turn into hills, meaning the Yangtze River becomes gentle here and lofty mountains become low hills. It wasn't until the Qing dynasty that Yiling was renamed to today's Yichang, embodying people's wish for prosperity and flourishing. Whipping Yichang was renamed in the Qing dynasty. There's another place name in Hubei that was also changed in the Qing dynasty, and that's Enshi. Anshi's full name is Anshi Tujia and Miao Autonomous Prefecture. Almost the entire prefecture is mountainous, and it has been a settlement for ethnic minorities since ancient times. Inshi was originally called Shizhou, originating from the late Eastern Jin dynasty, when a man surnamed Shi came to these deep mountains and proclaimed himself the Lion King. So later generations called this place Shizhou. Starting from the Yuan dynasty, this region implemented the Tusi system. The so-called Tusi system involved setting up local officials for management. These local officials were not directly appointed by the imperial court. They were managers elected by the local ethnic minorities themselves, intended to facilitate governance. Then, in the Qing dynasty, to stabilize the situation and win over the people, Emperor Yangzhan personally changed Shizhou to Anshi, meaning bestowing grace upon Shizhou, signifying the preservation of peace in this area. Earlier, we talked about many Hubei place names and their origins, all related to the tumultuous wars and peace in history. Chinese people say that a nation not only has a country, but also homes. Place names are the same. So the next place name we'll talk about is full of the warmth of small families, and that's Shaogan. Ixiogan is a prefecture-level city adjacent to the northwest of Wuhan, named after Dongyang from the Han Dynasty, whose filial piety moved heaven. Many who've seen The Heavenly Match might think Dongyang and the Seventh Fairy is a love story. But originally, it's a story about filial piety. Dongyang lost his mother in childhood, fled to Hubei, and then his father died. To bury his father, Dongyang sold himself into slavery, which moved the seventh fairy to descend. She wove cloth for a month to repay his debt, creating their romance. Dongyang and the seventh fairy met under a large locust tree. This place was originally called Huayin. Huai as in locust tree, yin as in shade, meaning shelter. During Southern-Northern dynasties, Emperor Xiaowu renamed it Shaogan to promote filial piety, meaning filial deeds move heaven. Besides Dongyang, many filial stories circulate here. Huangshang warming his father's bed in Han Dynasty, Mengzong crying for bamboo shoots in Jin Dynasty. These are classic tales from China's ancient 24 filial exemplars. All right, that concludes part 1 on historical place names in Hubei. Hubei's place names witness centuries of warfare while embodying hopes for peace and prosperity. Beyond history, Hubei boasts stunning natural landscapes. Next, we'll explore part 2. Hubei place names derived from mountains, rivers, and natural scenery. First, Huanggang in easternmost Hubei. There are several theories about its naming. One point to Huanggang Mountain, but when you hear Huanggang, you might first think of its famous high school, not so much for tough exams and sky-high college admission rates, Dig into history, and its scholarly tradition runs deep. Ancient Huanggang was called Huangzhou, where Su Dongpo was exiled. Here, Su Dongpo wrote masterpieces like Memories of the Past at Red Cliff and his Red Cliff Odes. But his Red Cliff wasn't the actual battlefield. It's a red cliff near Huanggang City. To distinguish them, Su Dongpo's site is now called Literary Red Cliff or Dongpo's Red Cliff. South of Huanggang is another Huang city, Huangshi. Across the ocean, the U.S. has Yellowstone, but that's different. The Yellowstone National Park got its name from sulfur turning rocks yellow, but Huangshi in Hubei has no volcanoes. It got its name from the copper ore abundant in its mountains. Though not large, Huangshi ranked second in Hubei's economy during the 1950s. That's because it produced copper and iron ore with highly developed heavy industry. Moreover, smelting techniques here have a long history, even reflected in place names. For example, under Huangshi is Daiye County named for grand smelting. As early as the Shang dynasty, people were smelting bronze here. Besides Huanggang and Huangshi, many Hubei places start with Huang, especially in the east, like Huanmei. Even Wuhan's famous Yellow Crane Tower has this Han character. Part of Hubei's connection to Huang originates from the Huang Kingdom in northern Hubei during the spring and autumn period. Huang also represents color, but don't overthink if it's the primary color yellow, right? The Book of Changes says, heaven is black, earth is yellow. Yellow is earth's color, used in place names and symbolizes nobility. The yellow crane in Yellow Crane Tower might not be literally yellow, but it's definitely a noble, transcendent crane. Another important central Hubei city named after a mountain is Tianmen, from its Tianmen Mountain. Many places nationwide share this name. Roughly over 10 exist, like Zhangjiaji's in Hunan and Wuhu's in Anhui, all named for twin peaks resembling a gateway to heaven. But only Hubei's Tianmen Mountain named a city. Tianmen is also tea sage Lu Yu's hometown, acclaimed as the birthplace of global tea culture. Of course, Hubei's tallest mountains are in the west. Shennong Peak, the highest at 3,105.4 meters. It's not just Hubei's highest peak, but central China's tallest. The area is called Shennongjia Forestry District, China's only county-level unit named Forestry District. Legend says Shennongjia is where Emperor Shennong tasted hundreds of herbs. It remains largely primitive with 5,000 plus species, and rumors say Bigfoot roams here. Now, many people come here to explore, looking for Bigfoot, adding a mysterious aura to the area. All right, we've covered mountains. Now let's talk about cities named after waters, like the Yangtze and Han rivers, have left many place names in Hubei. For example, Hanyang and Hankou in Wuhan's three towns, and Hancheng City under Shaogan, all named after the Han River, which originates in Shanxi. It flows into the Yangtze in Hubei and is the largest tributary by area in the Yangtze Basin. So why is it called the Han River? Well, in the night sky, there's a bright Milky Way called Silver Han by ancients, meaning vast. The celestial Milky Way is boundless, and the terrestrial Han River mirrors its grandeur. That's how it got its name. The main channel of the Han River flows into the Yangtze at Wuhan, but it's not the only connection. There is a tributary from the Han to the Yangtze that flows through Qianzhong City, hence its name. Qianzhong takes Qian from the Han River, meaning a hidden waterway that secretly flows into the Yangtze. Hubei doesn't just have many rivers, it also has numerous lakes. When talking about Hubei's lakes, you might think of Henghu Lake, right? Yes, the song Henghu Water, Waves Upon Waves. Modern Henghu City is named after Henghu Lake, but in ancient times, the Jianhan Plain had a larger lake called Yunmeng Marsh. From Tang poet Meng Huran's line, mist rises from Yunmeng Marsh, Waves shake Yuyan's city. You can sense the grandeur of this vast lake, covering nearly the entire Jianghan Plain, all the way to Yuyang in Hunan by the Yangtze, belong to Yunmeng Marsh, a huge waterland. But as silt from the Yangtze and Han rivers accumulated, the marsh gradually turned into fertile plains, leaving only smaller lakes like Homhu. Now, a place name in Hubei still recalls that immense lake, Yunmeng County, an ancient name with over 1,300 years of history. Ancient Yunmeng County was located on the shore of Yunmeng Marsh. Another city in Hubei named after water is Xi'an City in the northwest. Talking about Xi'an, you might know it as the Motor City, producing Dongfeng vehicles, and home to the Taoist sacred site Wudong Mountain. But have you ever wondered how Xi'an got its name? Actually, weirs can be considered ancient Three Gorges projects. Unlike simple dams, they not only block water but also divert it for irrigation. Similar to how Duzhongyan in Chengdu got its name, ancient weirs were built here, 10 of them, hence the name Xi'an, 10 weirs. Speaking of numbers, besides Xi'an and the famous Three Gorges, another Hubei place name combining numbers and nature is Wufan. Wufang County belongs to Yichang City. The reason is simple. It has 5 peaks. What do you think? Ancient Chinese naming was just that straightforward. Besides mountains and waters, some places were named after plants. For example, Qichun County under Huanggang, Li Shizhen's hometown, is named after the qi plant, with a grass radical, dan below, and jin on the side. In ancient times, it meant celery. Clearly, celery must have been a popular vegetable here back then. Beyond Qichun, foodies might drool over names like Huangmei, Xiantao, Zoyang. We won't over-explain their meanings. Let your imagination run wild while quenching thirst with plums. That concludes part 2. Place names from mountains, lakes, and plants. That like cityscapes, place names change over time. Earlier we discussed ancient Hubei city name changes. Now, part 3, recent city renaming in Hubei. First, names changed due to city mergers. Ancient wide rivers couldn't have bridges. Though just kilometers apart, travel between riverbanks was hugely inconvenient. Now, bridges and tunnels make travel easy, so city mergers became a trend. Today's Wuhan formed by merging 3 towns, Wuchang, Hankou, and Hanyang. Post-merger, it took one character from each, Wu from Wuchang, Han from Hankou, Hanyang, making Wuhan a very successful example. But are all merged city names this successful? Not necessarily. Let's look at 2 examples. First, let's talk about Shenyang. In the 1950s, Xiangyang merged with Fansheng across the river and became Xiangfan. But no matter how you call it Xiangfan, it never sounded as iconic as the famous Xianyang, right? And people gradually forgot that Shangfan was actually ancient Shenyang. So in 2010, Shangfan changed its name back to Xianyang. Jinzhou had a similar situation. From 1994 to 1996, Jingzhou City merged with neighboring Shashi to become Jingsha City, another unsuccessful renaming. The name Jingsha lasted only 2 years before reverting to Jingzhou. The reason for these failures? Names like Xianyang and Jingzhou aren't just labels. They're historical symbols etched in people's hearts. Of course, Xinyang, Cheng, and Jingzhou, Shashi ultimately merged successfully. They just reverted their names. In Hubei, there's also a case where cities merged names but couldn't stay together. A forced union that failed. Look, in the 1950s, today's Aizhou was called Yichang, and Huanggang was Huanzhou, just a river apart. So in 1983, Ezhou and Huanzhou merged and renamed as Ezhou. It didn't last long. By 1987, Huanggang and Ezhou parted ways amicably. Ezhou remained Ezhou, while Quanzhou across the river became a district under Huanggang City. Of course, modern city renaming isn't just about mergers. Sometimes it's purely a name change. For example, Hong'an County under Honggang was called Hong'an before 1952. It was renamed because it's a revolutionary base, hometown of figures like Dong Biwu and Li Xianmian, producing over 60 founding generals. Changing Huang'an to Hong'an objectively boosted local red tourism. And there's Puchi City, renamed as Chibi City, which revived an ancient name, boosting recognition and tourism, sparking a retro trend. But whether reviving old names is truly good remains debatable. Take Shantou City in Hubei. It produced world champions like Li Dashuang, Li Shaoshuang, and Yang Wei, earning the title Hometown of Gymnastics Champions. Actually, Jiantao was historically called Mianyang, a renowned ancient city. The Mian River was an alternate name for the Han River. Mianyang got its name from being north of the Mian River. Many feel Xiantao sounds tacky and want to restore the ancient name, but the character Mian is obscure. Many don't recognize or write it easily. So whether renaming aids development requires careful thought. Modern city renaming is like unfolding history, complex yet fascinating. Historical renaming offers lessons. Whether to change or how demands thorough consideration. All right, that covers the main content of the origin of Hubei place names. As they say, better to travel 10,000 miles than read 10,000 books. Come explore Hubei's cities, experience the unique history, culture, and landscapes behind each name, feeling every city's distinct charm. All right, that concludes our interpretation of the origin of Hubei place names. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.